Can my homeschool student get into college? Well, that's the question a lot of us are asking. Even if we don't know whether we want to send our son or daughter to college or if they want to go to college, that's the question that that's kind of in the back of our mind because we want to be successful, right? And we want to think that we are preparing correctly. And hey, we second guess in the educational systems too. We're always asking the same question: Are we teaching, and are we doing the most effective thing to help the students? So, as a parent, as a homeschooling student, we would expect us to be doing that, also to be questioning. But the answer is absolutely the homeschooling is not a barrier. You will hear many people say that colleges love homeschooling students because they're smart, because they can they're independent learners. They create creative. They have the ability to do critical thinking. You'll hear all of these kind of things about homeschooling students, and you know what? None of those are necessarily always true because one homeschooling student can be very different from another. And just like a public school student or a private school student, it can be very different from another. Now, if I know all the students are coming from school X, that's a well respected school in your city or neighborhood, then yeah, that's helpful. But homeschooling students are just across the board. So the reason that we look at homeschooling students in the university is because we need students in the university. I mean, that's it's a huge population of students, and why would we want to miss the opportunity? Because colleges, universities, we are a business, private, public, it doesn't matter. It's a funding deal. We need money flowing with students in seats, whether it's virtual or real. We need students in seats to make money. And so they're coming after your students to recruit them just like they are anybody else. So it's not a barrier. It may have been a barrier at one time, and homeschool legal defense will sometimes tell you, hey, this one student was denied because of being homeschooling, but they always get past those issues. They always win, or at least it seems like they do to me. But here's three things that you can do to help you prepare for college. And it doesn't matter what the issue is. Obviously, you need to be looking at what the requirements of the college, the university, the degree programs are, and always look at the heaviest, the worst, right? Because if you look at the one that's got the biggest number of requirements, then you're ready for pretty much all of them. So, number one is you want to build a strong transcript. Now, the transcript that you may have a cover school, you may have a state rules that requires that the transcript gets done in a certain way by a certain person or organization. But what you need to be helpful there is to create a listing of subjects, create the grades, and oftentimes you can even say, here's the curriculum I use, like you used. Maybe I used this textbook, or we used AskDrCallahan's algebra with Harold Jacobs' textbook. So a lot of people will have notes. I mean, private public schools aren't doing that, but you do. Some do, and some colleges recognize these things and it adds some value. But really, you just want to be clear. The main thing is you want a transcript that's laid out, that's really clear. This was one credit. This was algebra. And for most of us, we have so many credits or math required for high schools, and so many credits of science, and so many credits of English composition or language arts, whatever you want to call it. And so you need that, and you usually you need your GPA, and you don't want fancy, funny grading. Like this was you want to stick to the ABCs or the point system, and not create anything new. You can do that in homeschooling, but that you need to be communicating across. This needs to be a tool that communicates what you did in your homeschool, where other people can read it, and they need. I'm going to say they want to compare apples to apples, but that's not true. Even two public school transcripts in the same city are going to be different, and people in the college system will tell you, you really, everything's comparing apples to oranges. They don't put a tremendous value on transcripts. There's a look at them, but but this is one of the things you do need to do. So what also when we deal with the transcript, so number one is build a strong transcript, which means make it readable, make it make sense. And number two is to use course names that make sense, that they understand. If your student takes algebra or elementary algebra, we would call this Algebra 1. Notice the textbook is called Elementary Algebra. This is Algebra 1. And that's what they're used to seeing. If you start putting the word elementary in there, they're like, what does that mean? Is this a first? So textbooks have names, and sometimes the names aren't agreeable. And look, it's a homeschooling curriculum, right? You could name the course in the transcript the course Mom hated worst in high school. That would be a fine name, but it's not going to translate very well when you send this to the university. So use this for algebra. The names they're looking for in math is algebra, geometry, algebra 2 with trig, trigonometry, pre-calculus, and calculus. Not all of those, but those are the names that they are looking for, and they understand what they mean. Anything else, if you did statistics or something like that, they would know what that means, but those aren't the critical path for most people. For instance, here's another one we use for our Algebra 2 and Trig. We use this textbook's College Algebra, which is the same book that many universities use. And the course that many universities use this for is called Pre-Calculus, or sometimes they call it Algebra 2 and Trig. So if you were to use this book saying College Algebra on your transcript, you would want to call it Pre-Calculus or Algebra 2 and Trig on the transcript, because that's the words that they expect. So don't get fancy. Just use the names. They expect, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, trig, pre-calculus, and calculus. Those are the names they're going to see. You may, if you may have something like a statistics or something, if that's an interest, they're going to expect biology, physical sciences, biology, chemistry, and physics. There may be some others. Right? So that's the kind of thing that you want to look at, is what are these things typically called. And for electives, the same thing. If you do a personal finance, don't just call it personal finance. It doesn't matter if it's a Dave Ramsey's finance or something. Just call it personal finance, because they may not know what the Dave Ramsey's program means. If it's business or entrepreneurship, just call it that. That's what they think. They're glancing at transcripts at best, because they're looking at so many students, and you just want to make their job easy. So build a strong transcript, and name things as they are normally named. The third thing you want to do is prepare your student for the SAT or ACT. Many schools will take one or the other. Just figure out what's the right one for you. And by the way, many schools, if you take one, they will translate it to their, so if you have an ACT score and they only take the ACT, they may translate what that number means in the ACT. And don't get caught up in this. A lot of parents get really caught up because there are a lot of courses out there trying to help people make top scores. And that's rarely going to be required. Your universities have a minimum score they need, and everything after that is, maybe ego, if you will. Or there is a scholarship, so whatever you need to do to get a scholarship. Learn what those things are, and don't get too bogged down in those, because test-taking strategy is different than learning the material, as we've talked about many times in the videos. So those are the three things. If you can do those three things, build a strong transcript, to be very clear on the naming, and prepare them for whatever test they need. Then acceptance is the easy problem. Picking things and all the other stuff that goes with it is more activity you will have there. So look, but every student's path is different, right? We know this, we expect this. Every student is going to have a different path. This is where the stress usually comes in. Is if they go to public school X, Y, and Z, there's only a few paths they can take. Um, most people that are college bound will be all taking the same courses. There may be a few variables. In the homeschooling world, you have a pretty much infinite amount of variables. Probably not infinite, but you have a lot of variables. And we have the fear of missing out for us as parents and even for our students. So we're constantly questioning and evaluating. Don't get too caught up in that. You will see people going to extremes to take these courses, to take these ACT, SAT preps. Look, you just got to get over the bar. And whatever that is for you, don't worry too much about what everybody else is doing. That's tough. We know. We've homeschooled 4 kids, and you hear a lot of things, and you are guessing. Am I doing something? Am I missing out? Are we doing the wrong thing? But look, people come to universities and colleges in the United States that can barely read and write and do basic arithmetic. That's just the fact. That's happening. Maybe that shouldn't happen, but that is happening, and many of them will get through it, and many of them will actually bone up on those skills that they didn't have before and do very well. So it doesn't matter where you get. I mean, we're trying to prepare our students the best, but wherever you get to is where you get to, and you just want to present the best case that you can to help the universities make a difference. And so here's the other thing very quickly is they're probably going to get accepted. Now they may not get accepted if they're and it's not usually a university as a whole. It's not this university only accepts few people. It's usually a program like this business program or this engineering program or this electrical engineering program. It's usually very specific that are competitive, if you will. And for instance, if you go to a very competitive engineering school versus this whatever school's down the road, that's okay. Your job prospects are about the same. They're not really wildly different outputs. There's a few exceptions, but those are extreme. So, look, that's one of the things to think about is there's so many options, and you can find your path there. You're probably going to get accepted. You probably get accepted in more than one, and all you really need is one that makes financial sense and that will get you the result that you want. So yes, your homeschooling student can get into college and thrive and succeed, and you don't have to jump over the moon to do it. You just need to do some basic things. Hey, if we can help you with this, if you have questions, sometimes people are even asking us questions about specific universities, and we can help point in some directions of what we might would think. Always check with your university, your program, not just the university, but the specific program that you're going to. If you're going to become a business major at Texas A&M, contact the business school at Business A&M directly or find on their website what do they want. They're happy to give you the information. They want your students to apply. All right, if we can help, let us know at support@AskDrCallahan.com.